Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is Johnboy. I'm your host, John Francis Fahey, the COVID kid, a.k.a. COVID barely 19, baby. John Francis Fahey, your host, joining me as ever, the pinnacle and perfection of perversion. That is Clark Cunt.
Bruce Wang.
Bruce Wang. Aaron Joseph Peter.
That's me, man. Mild-mannered cuck.
Oh, pal. You get it.
To your right, my left, handsome Matt Brousseau, the Cape God, Gape God.
Oh, hell. Hi, how are you? What are you staring me down for?
Yeah, what's
pal?
going on?
Trying to come up with a name.
Trying to come
Yeah.
up.
The Canuck run amok.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's all right.
It'll work. It'll do.
The frog with the uncut hog.
Frog with the hog.
Yeah.
Ever heard the story of the frog and the hog?
Yeah, the frog
I mean, this guy's dick was a real pig.
He goes, hey, it's my nature.
I'm a frog.
What? I'm a simple frog.
I'm just a simple frog.
Yeah. Get a little extra leap off the lily pad.
There you go, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The problem is my prodigious hog catches the water. And it's not very aquadynamic. Hydrodynamic.
Drags you down.
It's drag. It's like a rudder.
Yeah.
It's like a rudder in the water.
It's like it wants to swamp.
Swamp Thing!
Hey, kids.
What brings you to this?
Littering sucks, kids. This shit goes nowhere.
You know what? Reading sucks, too.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, man. Fuck your parents. Fuck your way of life.
Smoke grass.
Dude.
The green.
Yeah, get into the green. Do DMT. We all float down here.
Take a bite of my nipples and trip out, dude.
I'm not a swamp man. I'm
That
Swamp
should be
Thing.
a thing in Swamp Thing.
It is.
It is?
Remember in the show?
Oh my god, like you suck his dick and it's like doing ayahuasca.
It's ayahuasca.
Suck his fucking Swamp Thing.
Growing a flower out of your nose.
Oh my god, and the flora and the fauna puts all kinds of psychedelic imagery inside your brains.
Yeah, dude, you
awesome.
fucking trip out with your dick out.
Oh my god.
Well,
In the show, they did a thing, and I'm sure it was from Alan Moore too, where like he like grows a fucking thing out of his hand, and it's a flower, and he
Yeah.
blows
this.
yeah.
the pollen in her face, and she
She has a fucking and she goes
Psychedelic
into
trip.
animal antics.
That's right.
She goes into animal antic shock.
That's right.
Oh,
Starts acting
A fool.
cool.
like she starts acting like a gator. Can I tell you about the fellow with the web searches?
I would love
yes,
to break
yes.
this
with
guy's
the murder.
Yeah, you
let
briefly touched on
violate
it
this
a little
man's
bit.
privacy.
So there's one of those guys where he does the classic thing on his child's iPad. He's killing his wife, and he's really narrating it to Google search basically.
You think he was doing like Siri? He's like, hey, Siri.
Hey Siri, how do I kill my wife?
Hey, real quick.
Siri?
Hey Siri, how do you get bloodstains out of velour?
Oh my god.
Oh,
Oh, now you're on a list, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Dude,
You're on a fucking list now,
10 ways
dude.
to kill. Dude, oh my god, top 10 ways to kill your wife by Steve Hudgens, Amazon.com.
Jesus Christ, Siri, knock it off.
Now the thing that's great about this is
What is it?
it's well, you're gonna recognize the accent of
See the thing about Hodu. I'd kill your wife with a hammer.
So it's this guy. It's on the Reddit thread. Watch people die inside, and it's this very haggard man who's arrested for murder of his wife. And he's looking on as the charges are read. Oh, fuck me running.
No.
What do you do now?
I need to restat it.
Oh, dude, you don't have enough juice to restart.
No,
your
you
phone,
can't even.
man.
You gotta fucking ride a bicycle to charge that thing up.
Ready?
On January 1st, defendant Googled using his son's iPad. Some of his searches are as follows. Keep in mind that the defendant said he left at 6 a.m. At 4:55 a.m. on January 1st, he searched how long before a body starts to smell?
Starts to
At
smell.
4:58 a.m.,
A body.
how to stop a body from decomposing. At 5:20 a.m., he searched how to embalm a body. At 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to.
If you really need to.
5 a.m. on the first, how long for someone to be missing to inherit? At 6:30 a.m.
Jesus.
on the first, can you throw away body parts?
Body
At
parts.
9:29 a.m.,
guess.
what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m.,
Starts watching
on the
science
first,
documentaries.
how long does DNA last? At 9:59 a.m., can identification be made on partial remains? At 11:34
These are all things you searched before.
dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body.
Jesus Christ.
The body
At
pads.
11:44, how to clean blood from wooden floor.
Floor?
11:56 on the first, luminol to detect blood. At 1:08, what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? At 1:21 p.m., is it better to throw parts?
How late is too late to fuck a dead body?
Wash them.
Is Carvel open?
January 1st. There was also information gained from the defendant's phone, which showed on January 2nd he was at Home Goods in Norwell, where he purchased 3 rugs.
3 rugs.
Cover up the stains.
One was a wig.
There was also evidence he was at Home Goods getting rugs. This fucking guy.
And he asked the same questions to the employees at Home Goods.
Yeah. I just I
That's
really
amazing.
love the body pads.
Yeah.
They fucking body parts.
How to dispose of body
They got
pads?
a wicked smell.
Oh my god.
Stinking up.
What should I do with my wife's money?
If you really need to, is great. A great.
yeah, if you really,
And I really need to.
I really gotta. I gotta. That was sent to me by Rob Douglas, and somebody else
boy.
sent it me too. But thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Love keeping the weird shit coming. You
You
know?
got it.
I'll dispose of body pads. Fellas, we're back here for part 2 of Doug Kenney.
Yes.
Oh,
Part
Yes, sir.
2. So we know from last time, Doug Kenney felt like he needed to measure up to his older brother, the Golden Boy,
with spina bifida.
who passed away when he was in college. The Harvard Lampoon, of course. He met with Henry Beard. The two of them decided to go national with this thing. They never stop doing the Lampoon. And they're bringing some of the Harvard writers with them, but also like there's secure funding for the venture through Maddie Simmons, who does the Weight Watchers magazine. And he negotiates a really good deal. He really wants to do it. He thinks it can sell. Maddie Simmons is like, he's kind of pigeonholed in the movie as being like the uptight guy. But also everybody at that like did see him as the authority figure. So when National Lampoon gets really crazy and like this really fractured environment, everybody could agree they kind of hate Maddie.
They brought them together.
Yeah, it was like they had to have something to rebel against, basically, which is like, you know, an ongoing theme of National Lampoons. And so
They never stopped being.
and the thing
young
was like
kids.
sometimes he would wade in throughout the career of Lampoon and he would and he just came from like, you know, this sort of upstart publishing thing. He called his company 21st Century Publishing, and he was like, I want something to put us on the map. And he's like, you know, I'm only a 50% stakeholder in this Weight Watchers things. And he's going, other countries have humor magazines.
Yes.
He's like, Mad is like a thing that you've got where it's like you just grow, like it's for kids, smart kids, but like it's like you grow out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like,
Right.
and so that, you know, there's nothing between the New Yorker and Mad Magazine.
yes, that's a good.
And everybody, you know, that is going to, in fairness, write for this. Like they grew up on Mad, and Mad to a lot of those kids was like the only thing telling you like it like life is ridiculous,
Yeah.
especially in that you
You're
know,
right to feel out of place.
yeah, especially in that time where like you know it's Leave It to Beaver time, you know, and so that's kind of like a part of the energy that fuels this whole crazy Lampoon thing too, because we have to put ourselves there and like really think about it. It only became acceptable to say like the last 30 years are bullshit. You know what I mean? Around this time in like a public way. So they also had this like backlog of things to make
Decades
fun of.
to Lampoon.
Oh,
You know
God,
what I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah, you're right.
So it was like anything, you know, especially nostalgia. It was like, you know, like The truth was, it went like that if you added like a lot more alcoholism,
Yeah.
like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And racism and
Yes.
PTSD.
The
racism.
lead gasoline.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then they attract people like, Mike O'Donoghue, who is like the really crazy motherfucker. He was the one that were like in those crazy days. He would always rip the phone out of the wall after screaming at and like somebody and throw it out in the hallway. Like, almost hit people, and he was just probably a profile worthy in his own right.
Yeah.
Later on, he would be the first voice you actually hear on the first moment of SNL, because he's like the psychiatrist dealing with
Right.
with Belushi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's played by Thomas Lennon in the movie. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and he was real crazy. And like he ended up being the head writer for SNL out the gate after his Lampoon time comes to an end. But so he comes out and he's just got like this this vicious thing. He had like a Rolodex of just insane ideas, and you could pull them out like just hundreds of like things where it's like there's some ring to this and I don't know what this is yet.
Cats.
But
cats.
yeah,
I got
exactly.
cats. Oh, I got 7 things in cats.
Exactly. Like for real, hundreds. It was a Rolodex of just insane, like fucking insanity. And so he becomes a major voice right away too. But like Doug is really the superstar. Like Doug and his best friend Henry Beard are the ones launching this thing, and Doug is like outsider, where he's like suburban kid that's like the sensitive art kid that does well in school, but he's not part of the upper class, and he has like that class awareness, like I said, of working the Caddyshack kind of thing. But his was tennis. And later on, that was the thing. Him and Brian Doyle Murray talked about working the Caddyshack, and he talked about stringing rackets for rich people. And they just talked about customer service for the wealthy, and just talking about that led to Caddyshack later.
Oh, wow, okay.
And all this stuff like they had. They just had like kind of like a lot of hang-ups from working customer service for that level of clientele, and sort of PTSD about it. So there's this shared connection, whatever. But so Doug is like a superstar writer, and really, just fucking knocking it out of the park all the time. Henry is always writing, but nobody is doing as much as Doug, and he's always kind of amazing, and he's the kind of guy that's always leaving it to the last minute too. Right. He's kind of just fucking around all the time, and then it's like right before deadline.
I get like Trey Parker vibes.
Yeah,
like there's the guy who's kind of the mastermind behind everything, and like talk about leaving to the last minute. Like what is it? 3 days to air is the
right? Yeah, just that schedule.
Pressure. That's how you make diamonds, baby.
Yeah. And so with guys like O'Donoghue, O'Donoghue had a thing where he just came out as this like really crazy voice, very distinct right away, and somebody one time sent him dynamite to the office, and
it was him.
He goes, he was like, somebody just wrote like, "Hey Mike, here's some dynamite you can have fun with," and so he goes and he's like, he calls George Plimpton.
Yes.
And he goes,
smart move, yeah.
and he goes, who's a self-described demolition expert. And he goes, hey man, is this dangerous? And he goes, well, not unless the nitroglycerin has leaked out and crystallized on the outside, which of course it had. And so at that point, like O'Donoghue's thing, and then like they call,
hazmat.
Yeah, but it shuts down like Madison Avenue, like for like hours to get this fucking thing out of there. And then O'Donoghue, once he like kind of like got his nerves back together, then he was fighting to get it back because they confiscated it. Mm-hmm. Total psycho.
Yeah, you can see they have to hold him back.
Yeah.
It's my dynamite.
Yeah. Tony Hendra is another guy that showed up. He was part of a British comedy duo, and he was kind of, writing some oddballs. But he was like writing for television out here, and he was just seeing what was going on in the Lampoon, and then he just packed, like, he had a family, and was just like, I'm going to do that, and became like one of the crazy voices, became a good friend of O'Donoghue, saw that O'Donoghue kind of had this like private soft side. Real crazy, always dressed like Travis Bickle, O'Donoghue too, like all
Army jacket?
Yeah, all military like type shit.
So weird.
Yeah, he had a lot of stuff too about like making fun of like how the revolution got sold is very much like the attitude prevailing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, he had a thing about like Che Guevara, like, you know, chewable vitamins or like, you know, like up against the wall motherfucker carpeting.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Up against the wall carpeting. And that was, you know, so it's kind of that weird prevailing mood too, where it's like, you know, the cynicism post Watergate and everything and Vietnam, but it's, you know, it's going to that. It's going to be like, it's just going to get darker in the 70s as it goes on. You know what I mean? Ultimately leading to the Reagan fucking just decimating harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the area you go into at the Lampoon. At first they start out and they have that thing too where they're doing like straight satire, but they have all those like beatnik underground comics artists. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
From the doc, and they were saying like, and somebody that was like a legit guy, Michael Gross. Or Grossman? I think his name was Mike Grossman. I'm not sure. But he was looking at it and he was going like, "This shit is good, but it's a mess to look at."
Yeah.
And Maddie agreed too.
Yeah.
And so Maddie was like, he doesn't have final say, but he, you know, he's got some say. And he sort of takes on like this paternal role to a lot of them. Maddie, by the way, Michael O'Donoghue, you know. Doug Kenney was definitely looking for like friendly parental kind of figures and stuff like that. Henry was too standoffish and weird, you know, to get that
smoking his
accomplished.
pipe in the background.
But Maddie's, you know, demeanor is kind of like, I don't know why they're mad at me. Like, I would do anything for these, and I also let them do whatever they want, you know.
Right.
But he was kind of saying, you know, hey man. And so word got around that this graphic designer from another you know, Real magazine was like,
yeah, they got legit designers.
And he kind of came to them and he's going like, look at your article about this like ridiculous postage stamps. He's like, then you have these dumb drawings. And so he just redid the article with what his art would have been.
Yeah.
He's like, your art has to be straight if the satire is straight.
You can't put a hat on a hat.
Yeah. Or it undermines it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like letting you know, hey, this guy's, you know, jerking you off, and it's not subtle.
Yeah, it's less satirical.
Yeah, and also those guys too were like just like doing whatever they want, and Doug Kenney and Henry Beard, I think, you know, just didn't like the confrontation. And Doug also wanted it to be this kind of like beatnik periodical too, and have some underground reach, but it was like it doesn't sell, you know.
Right.
So then once they got going, and they really saw what this guy could do. First of all, Michael Gross, he never was in conflict with anybody because they were like, we cannot lose him. Like he was too valuable to the team, so he was never in any of the beefs that are going to come up.
Yeah,
and he, you know, he just has that slick look where it's like, and now it's sellable, right? And so that's the thing Maddie gets going too, is he's going like, look, fucking, we keep expanding, and now that we have this look down, like, you know, he hired real ad guys that showed up like in 3-piece suits, and they were like, yeah, man, we're fucking like,
put a gun to this dog's head.
they were like, we're here to fucking. They had this ad campaign that was, there's nothing funny about the way it sells, and so they would get on to like, you know. I mean, you can still have like cigarettes and booze things and that. You know what I mean? And also they were like stereo equipment. Anybody listening to music, like rock and roll was kind of intrinsic to the thing. So it was like, and then they just kept expanding like how much they got per page, per ad, and they kept blowing up and up and up. And now when they really set out to do this too, they had made this deal with Maddie, with Rob Hoffman, who came from the Harvard Lampoon too. And Rob Hoffman was just like really driven in this deal, and he was going like, "There's going to be a forced buyout after 5 years, right?" Because Maddie really wanted to make the deal, and he would have to buy their shares at something like fucking 16 times earnings or something like that. And so it was like this thing where when they signed this deal to first launch the magazine and you know, get all the financing for it, it was like they basically had set it up where the more successful the magazine was, potentially the more difficult it would be for Maddie to buy them out.
Yeah.
Right. But he did. And he was like, Hoffman was just definitely the better negotiator. And I really wanted to make this deal happen because I really believed in these kids, even though like they came from a totally different world. He was like, I just saw that it was funny. I was like, it's going to work, you know? So that's kind of like the background of while he's there. As you know, like shortly after it really gets cooking, Doug Kenney just disappears, right? And he goes to Martha's Vineyard and he's staying with his friend, Peter Ivers, who I talked about in the first episode.
Not Martha.
And he starts working on this novel, Teenage Communists from Outer Space, Tacos for short. And that's where it's really where he got the name from. He was like out in LA and he saw a tacos sign and he was just like, Teenage Communists Outer Space. And he had this thing where he was really driven as a writer. He wanted to be like a really fucking, respected writer. And like, so he had done this thing where, his first thing out the gate is he's created this amazing fucking magazine, and he's the star contributor. And now he's kind of like he's always wanting to push to do something new, And so he's like he had a note that he left for Henry, which just said, "I gotta leave, or the eye in the sky is gonna get me," which they also thought was a suicide note. But then it was just like he's gone, and then people like Michael Gross was like, I feel betrayed, Some people were just grumbling about it. People were very dismayed, but it was like, the star had abandoned ship without any warning.
And how soon into the start was this?
This is probably year 2, maybe.
Okay.
Let's see. But it was cruising along at and going really well. But he was just doing more and more drugs. He was always smoking an intense amount of weed, right? And then all of the pitch meetings were at dinners, like these drunken dinners late at night at shitty Chinese restaurants.
Okay.
And everybody would just start throwing ideas around, but
not food.
So yeah, no food. But Henry Beard was going this is all I did. He's like, I worked 90-hour weeks.
Yeah.
And he's like, I had no kind of thing. And then, it only got worse, of course, when Doug disappeared. So now he's building up this kind of huge resentment too. And he also knows that they all kind of know there's this 5-year cap too, but they don't really understand how potentially huge it can be and would be, because they just, once they got their shit together, they could not stop expanding. It was amazing, and people were just seeing something they identified with that they just could not get before, and it was really unfiltered. There was tits in it all the time. Oh, it was it was a huge fucking deal, and television's not going to go there. Movies aren't really going to go there. Right. But a magazine, just like the printed word, it really butts up against First Amendment shit real hard, And they went all the way for it, and it was fucking massive. It was just a fucking landslide. And that's the thing, you kind of got to get into the vibe of what was allowed, and Smothers Brothers, we talked about, laughing, whatever. And it being this massive thing. And then they start fucking around with the radio. And then that's when you see the
National Lampoon Comedy Hour.
Yeah. That's when you start seeing people like Radner show up. And I think O'Donoghue was in charge of the radio hour. And they kind of they split him up with Hendra, because Tony Hendra had slept with a girl he dated, and O'Donoghue was just like, you have to fire him, to Maddie Simmons. And he's like, dude, because no, I'm not doing that. And so Henry Beard is telling Hendra, just keep a low profile. Everybody's divided in the office. It's insane. It's childish.
Yeah.
Hey, these comedy writers, you say childish?
Yeah.
So it's so weird.
And Hendra gets put on this, then they do a comedy album, right? And he gets put on this Lemmings thing. And Lemmings is the one where they're they're going to recreate Woodstock, but it's John Belushi kind of comes out and he's the one hey, we're all here to fucking kill ourselves, right? And by this time, think about how many rock stars had actually died.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a thing where they had people coming out, and Christopher Guest was doing his Peter Taylor stuff. And that took on a life of its own. And guys like Chevy Chase and Belushi and all that were going this is This is like a brand now. This is like us bringing like Second City shit with Lampoon, like brilliant writing, and they know that it's something real special, and obviously that would be
SNL.
just SNL.
Yeah.
And Maddie was approached by somebody to be like, hey, do you want to do TV? Like Johnny Carson is out of he doesn't want his reruns on all weekend. I don't know why. I don't know if that was like an overexposure thing. But they had to come up with some original late night programming.
He probably felt he wasn't getting paid well enough, so he's like, fuck it.
Yeah. What do you know how Lorne got attached to all this?
He was going to all the Lemmings shows. He was going to all the Lemmings shows, and he just saw the opportunity. And then you also keep in mind, he's getting a lot of people that left too, right? And like Michael O'Donoghue had left by that, the National Lampoons by that point. That's kind of jumping ahead, but yeah, he just grabbed everybody he could, and they still would come back, of course. Like, they were still friends there. Like, they show up in Caddyshack and stuff like that. But yeah, when it took off, they said you felt all the air go out of the Lampoon, and they just knew that, like, it was ridiculous. They had lost this opportunity, and they were kind of like you couldn't admit it was good.
Right.
What, SNL?
The Office? Yeah. Like, you couldn't say you liked it.
Right.
Like sacrilege, At that point, it's more like, I think P.J. O'Rourke took over. It wasn't doing as well anyway, but it was still such a brand, too. Like, they had, like, it was by that point, it was like posters, books, albums, the radio show. It was a fucking business.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, God, I would have had a fucking National Lampoon's poster. I'm sure if I was a fucking kid back then, like probably a couple.
Yeah.
But Doug, he kind of slinks back in one day, and all the respect is gone for him at the Lampoon, and it's very much accepted. It's very much accepted he'll never be in charge again. Like, he cannot be trusted.
He's unreliable.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
you can't just disappear like
but
that.
he's still going to be a star writer, But he had Henry Reed, Teenage Commies from Outer Space, and supposedly, depending on which version of the story you hear, he either throws it out the window or just dumps it in the trash can and nobody ever reads it again. So only Henry Beard ever read the novel from Doug Kenney, Teenage Communists from Outer Space.
The novel that Doug left, abandoned his company, or his magazine for.
Yeah.
To lose all of his respect.
Yeah.
It'd be
in
more
the
respectful
office.
if he left for actual tacos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can get that.
Yeah.
I had tacos before I got here.
Yeah, maybe bring some back. Not bring back this terrible script.
Yeah.
Hey, you offered me a taco. Yeah, so I mean, he gets it.
Yeah.
So Doug comes back and, but then he's busting out just like amazing writing again. Like I told you about the first blowjob thing.
No,
Yeah.
what's that?
It's girls going to prom, and it starts out with this thing of like, Chris will be here any minute, get down here, And she's ready to go. And the dad's like, oh my God, what a movie star, And then he takes her on the corner. He's like, listen, I just don't want you to, just don't give him a blowjob tonight. And she goes, oh, what? And he goes, the dude stuffs his dork in your mouth and shoots pecker snot all over your tonsils. And she goes, that sounds horrible. He goes, you bet it is. Ask your mother.
Pecker snot.
Pecker snot is so gross.
It's really fun.
And it was this brilliant piece that turned into like this also like thing about like date rape and like the fucking her boyfriend ends up like changing into a Nazi uniform and hitting her with like the car antenna.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's
Oh
insane.
my God.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking nuts. And
that's prom for you.
that was the thing. Like that was
Teenage Nazis from the Midwest.
that was like it's hard to put yourself, but like that was the media of the time. It was very fucking mean and cynical. And it was everywhere, this is like that coming of Coppola Scorsese time. We're getting into that sort of shit.
Well, plus, dirty, dangerous New York.
Yeah. But so Doug and O'Rourke is kind of new, and he's trusted for organizational ability. So they put him and Doug. O'Rourke. Yeah. They put him and Doug. Maddie says, I want you guys to do the yearbook parody. And they're like, they were like designing ways to tell Maddie like how to get rid of it. And they started talking about high school. And then they dialed it down to there's basically 12 stereotypes that everybody is.
In high school. Okay.
In high school. Yeah. And then they asked everybody for yearbooks. And they just went through them all and were just going like, look, that's the fucking foreign kid. Mm-hmm. And that's the girl in the wheelchair. And, this is the dumb jock. And this is the fucking art nerd. And it was fucking, he got really carried away with it, man. And like, there's brilliant there's like 12 brilliant narratives that go through the whole thing. Like there's like, kind of like a guy who's like, terrorizing the school by taking shits like in random places. And then like there's clues that lead you to believe it's the PE teacher and stuff like just stuff like that, like really dense shit. Yeah. That like you can really pour over. They were like, it was a fucking like a heavy piece of writing, but also you could see just like the dumb sight gags right away. And the parody of the yearbook became the most selling magazine of all time. Like
John Hughes must have bought one.
Fucking insane. Yeah. John Hughes works on the Lampoon.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
No shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's for sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Ivan Reitman came in, when they were touring with Lemmings and stuff like that. He gave some direction one time, and they were like, and Bill Murray just escorted him out of the room.
Come over.
Yeah, it's like come with me. Here you go. Yeah, just like the exit. He's like, it's so embarrassing. He's like, I didn't come back for like 2 days. They were just like, yeah. Do you think we're gonna listen to you? There's just come. Just it's. Yeah,
come this right this way.
And like again, we have to put ourselves in the thing of like you don't know those guys, but when you first see like Ramis and Bill Murray. And Brian Doyle Murray. Excuse me. Yeah. Brian
Bill's brother.
Yes, was again the star of the one of the writers of Caddyshack, but also when he showed up with that crew from Second City, and we're doing like radio stuff, he fell in love with Hilda Radner, and he was like, I can't be around her, I'm in love with her. And then he's like, but check out my little brother Bill. And that's how Bill got out there. It was
okay.
They're like he looked like a homeless guy sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
And then they were like
already bald.
Then we started hanging out with him, and they were like, dude, you could not breathe with laughing. Just doing like directing traffic in the middle of the street and stuff, like just doing like crazy shit all the time. The Lemmings got great reviews. Maddie was super proud. They were doing stuff like, fucking Belushi would do that incredible Joe Cocker.
Yeah.
That was fucking incredible, man.
He did like in the second or third episode of SNL, he did that Joe Cocker impression.
But he first did it with Lemmings, yeah. And, those guys were just seeing like their names in print in like the New York Times and stuff, and they were going like, oh my God, it's fucking crazy, And so, they had... They had this whole fucking thing like just fucking going like on all cylinders, and it attracted more and more people, more cartoonists, that would just come in and do fucking crazy stuff. They had that just one guy who, the restaurant serving frog legs, and you see the frog come out on the cart. It's like walking itself like. Shit like that, and like those guys wouldn't get censored or any, like there was guys that never even went in the office because like some of them were like it was too crazy.
Yeah.
Ann Beats gets in.
Okay.
She's the one woman that really fights her way through to like, really being like one of the guys and like not fucking taking anybody's shit at all. A major contributor, and she would do things about Vagino-American rights.
Vagino-American?
Yeah. And she would talk about, they should wear like their celebrated, housewife uniforms and use expressions like, oh goodness. And does Oakham's want a cookie? Stuff like that.
What was you said something just really quickly, go back to the yearbook issue. There was a great line about the
there was the girl that was
there's that, and then the compliment that was given in the review about it. So there's the girl in the wheelchair, and then something about collaborative writing.
Oh yes. Okay, so the girl in the wheelchair, she was nicknamed Wobbles, and it was like something like Wendy Wobbles or something like that. But they said she was a big help at rummage sales, which is just like the perfect kind of like anonymous, like where you go like you're thinking like, all right, she's got a lot of upper strength.
She's on wheels.
She's on wheels. She's table height with the shit.
Yeah, it's having a sentient shopping cart.
Big help at rummage sales. Just
like it nails like
perfectly executed.
The botched attempt at a bullshit compliment that high schoolers do.
Yeah.
Like, great smile.
Mm-hmm.
Great at big help at rummage sales when you can't think of anything else to say about somebody.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And then there was a review in it.
Oh yeah, somebody said it was in Harper's, and they said
bizarre. Harper's Bazaar.
It was Harper's said yes.
Bazaar?
They said it was the greatest piece of collaborative writing since the King James Bible.
Wow.
Pretty good.
That's high praise there.
Yeah. Jeez. And so that was the kind of thing that like Doug had, where it was like be aloof and be, sort of crazy and all that stuff, and then like just still like just pull off a major fucking win.
Yeah.
And, really win one for the home team.
And really bring home the bacon.
Yeah. Fucking deliver, dude. Fucking. So.
Dude, when you absolutely positively have to be there.
Except no substitutes.
Anything else would be uncivilized.
So yeah, that was fucking a major thing for National Lampoon. They had a lot of themed issues. A lot of people were hugely inspired by it. Like in the documentary, they got like Billy Bob Thornton just being like, there was nothing there, and then suddenly it was there, and you're going like, oh, that's what I've been thinking about the whole time.
I could fuck Angelina Jolie. Satire.
Just keep thinking, it'll happen.
It was. I watched that documentary, Drunk, Stone, Billion, Dead, and I immediately started it again and watched it again.
Yeah,
I loved it. Yeah. There's so much good shit in there.
Yeah.
And it's great too because they get to talk to Henry Beard, who is there, and he doesn't participate in the book. He wouldn't be interviewed for the book. I don't know which came first or what, but the book is excellent too. That the movie's based on A Futile and Stupid Gesture. But yeah, so Doug has this thing where he's, he's also got that personality where it's like he looks like a preppy one day, looks like the hippie the next. Like he just fit in with everything, befriending everybody. But like Belushi's wife, I think she was ready to leave.
Wife?
Yeah.
Oh, poor woman.
Judith Belushi. Yeah, and she was like, they were like, Belushi's like, we're gonna go back to Chicago. Like it's too crazy here, and like we're not like. And, she's miserable. And he's like, what does she do? And he's like, oh, she does art. And they hired her as an artist.
Yeah,
and then Doug Kenney showed up after his absence. And he was like, oh, how nice to meet you. And she was like, oh, I thought it was like partially because maybe he was Midwestern. But she's like, also, that was just him. He was just like extremely kind, and made everyone feel really like interesting and loved, And he continues batting away, writing great shit, but also he sees that he's missing this train that this SNL has kind of taken off, and then he still kind of has that attitude of like, well, then fucking fuck you, man. I'm gonna make a movie,
right?
And then that's the thing where it gets going on Animal House, because he's looking at it like from hearing these other guys' stories, like Brian Doyle Murray with Caddyshack, and he's going like, fuck, man, that was not me at Harvard, I'll tell you that. But he's hearing about like this really debauched shit,
right?
And then I think the fucking that just kind of sets him off, and they have this crazy treatment. Ramis is involved, and they get Landis, right? Mm-hmm. It's Landis. Mm-hmm. Landis, I think, was coming off Kentucky Fried Movie, and
oh my god,
And dude, crazy shit happened there. Doug was there all the time. And see, like the thing is, like it was the same thing. Like I told, I don't know if I told you, but with the when they got the New York City school to actually dress like the students for the yearbook issue. These kids after hours would stay at school and change themselves to kids from 1964.
Nice.
His high school in Chagrin Falls, which is called like Kefauver High or something.
It's a euphemism.
Yeah, like Kefauver, I think. Yeah, some fucking bizarre.
Good high.
and it's his graduating year. It's 64, and so he's just doing like the perfect thing of like when they're in language class, like putting the headphones on dumb, like just changing little things and everything. Like his intuition was totally right.
Yeah.
And they said he would be like that about like even books he hadn't read or movies he hadn't seen, where he would just be like dial it down, and he was like he absolutely knew what was good.
Right.
Everybody always said they're like, yeah, he would say this, and then you'd be like, yeah, that's right. And like it doesn't matter if it's a writer or a movie, like whatever, but he would just like dial it down, and like his taste, they said, was really unquestionable about good, bad, period. So yeah, he comes into this, this crazy thing with the way too long of a treatment for Animal House, and fucking it gets boiled down. Fucking Landis ups the fucking ante of satire by getting like the guy who did the score to fucking like the 10 Commandments to score it. So it's like this swelling orchestral thing that like sounds very like he's playing it super straight there. Yeah. And a bunch of the actors were there. They were like, dude, we fucking grew up like reading Lampoon. So like now you're here with Doug Kenney, and it was like crazy, And Doug Kenney, of course, puts himself in a small part. And
who was he in the movie?
Was he jump out of a cake or something?
No, he's the one that leads the crew down the alley, the marching band.
He's the
ponytail. What do you call him?
Was he? Wait, ponytail. I thought he was the guy with the glasses.
He's got glasses. Yeah.
The dork nerd.
He's always to say, "You stupid moron."
Yeah,
or whatever, that thing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What you did, you stupid moron.
Yeah. And they were like, and by this time he started like playing around with acting and stuff like that, and he was interested in it. And they're like, he did have a need to be seen. So there was a need to be a great writer. There was a need to be the center of attention, and there was like adjusting to fame, especially after the buyout. But like, as soon as the buyout happened, by the way, Henry leaves because Henry's like, Doug's back. He goes like, he's like, I spent so much time working on this thing and like just sleeping.
Yeah.
When I wasn't here, and then coming back and just banging out, typewriter shit, and they kind of summarized in the movie where you said we could stop when it's not fun anymore. But he also saw that like this buyout was coming, and all of the writers that helped him get there were expecting like
a payday,
and he was just kind of like, I did the work, man, and fuck all of you, and so he really had this speech where he was like, goodbye, fuck you, good luck.
Yeah.
And left.
Who's it? Henry said that.
Henry did,
wow,
yeah. And
wait, did they all get their buyout or what?
No, that was just Doug.
Oh, just Doug.
And Henry and Rob Hoffman.
Oh, okay.
And Maddie had a hard time securing the funding, and it was kind of like
because it was so successful that he had it ended
up being like fucking like $7.5 million in total to be paid out over the course of like several years.
But to three people, that's pretty fucking good. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, one of the guys. So when it happened, and Maddie felt really betrayed because it was like Doug had told him like, we're partners, nobody's gonna fuck you over. And so they were kind of like, oh, we can take the company private and all this stuff. And then Doug at the meeting just started going, I want my money. And then one of the guys on Maddie's side is like, I'm going to punch you in the mouth. and then they all stood up and were threatening each other. And then they all just started laughing because they were all like really peaceful people. Like, and fucking, yeah. Basically, Henry got his money and was like, fucking buy. And like he had that thing too where like he was raised in the privileged realm, and he was like I
shouldn't be working this hard.
and also like thinking like and he hadn't lived
right
because he had left college, and then he
went
was just
straight to the Lampoon,
and he was the one that was like it kind of like all fell on his shoulders basically, even though he didn't write as much as Doug. But all the organization, he had to be the good editor.
Right.
Say what sucked.
Yeah.
Doug was never going to tell you if it sucked. You know what I mean? He can give you tips and help you make it better.
Right.
But he's, not into the confrontation that way,
No, you don't say the guy who fled to Martha's Vineyard.
Didn't even say hi to Martha.
Yeah.
Also,
Come on.
they were both like, well, Doug said yes to everything. They said that Henry would react to everything with tempting. And then like, they were like, that could mean everything from like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, or I'm having like mental orgasms,
Right.
thinking about what you just said,
Or I'll think about what appetizer I'm ordering right now.
And so there was a thing where I think it was gross with the one issue where they were doing parody of Da Vinci stuff, and the one guy suggested the Mona Lisa as like an ape, and he said like Henry started shaking like the pipe in his mouth, laughing so hard. And they're like, Doug straight up just fell on the floor. And the guy's going like, no, it's too dumb. And they were like, dude, that's fucking it. Right? And then when he came to unveil it, he was like, the fucking whole office lost their shit. And they didn't really pat you on the back over there. Right. It was a pretty vicious atmosphere.
Right.
There was this crazy atmosphere at the Lampoon where everybody was really trying to be a star writer. And so there was this kind of thing where it was cool and all, but it was also competitive.
Right.
And there could be, craziness and anger and stuff like that. And for a while, it was healthy. Right. And then after a while, it was just
toxic.
It was just angry.
Yeah, you can only do that so long before the ability to cope with it.
And so while Doug had been gone, Michael O'Donoghue also really stepped up his game, and he became kind of a leader. He was one of the first disciples, basically, right? So he was kind of like taking on a lot, and then he started dating Ann Beats, and they had a thing going on, and then they split up or whatever, and he started dressing a little nicer, but he started taking himself real seriously. He really only thought that Henry and Doug were on his level. So his problem with Tony Hendra sleeping with his girlfriend was as much about him being sensitive as being Tony's also not as good a writer as me.
Right, how dare you.
That's the real offense. And he would handle it that way all the time. He really believed that shit, like that was the real offense, which is insanely funny. So he got into something with Maddie one night where he was like demanding that Ann had some office, and Maddie refused, and he's like, well, if you refuse, then I quit too. And he's like, all right, well, go ahead. And then so O'Donoghue walked over like this just nothing fight. O'Donoghue, when he was a little kid, his mom would have to only silence like his like rages with like throwing ice water on him.
So you spray your dog in the face, or your cat in the face, or yeah, it makes sense.
God,
we could all use a little ice water,
dude. What a fucking psycho!
Yeah,
and like telling the phone guy repairing the phone like every week it slipped.
Right. Oh yeah, it slipped at the window.
Yeah.
Avenue.
Yeah.
It slipped.
Again.
I meant to throw it at somebody.
The darn phone.
Yeah. And so for a while it was but so you had this thing where leadership kept abdicating, right? O'Donoghue was like friends with a lot of them. He was some kind of leader thing. Doug was never going to be again, like I said, and then Henry bounces. So no, Maddie is looking at it like, what the fuck? Who the fuck is gonna
steer
do
this
this?
shit,
So that's how you get somebody like PJ O'Rourke coming ahead, even though he was like such a junior person. And then everybody on the staff is mad they have to answer to this kid, And PJ O'Rourke really had this thing of he really sweated it out. He was not naturally talented. He had to really work. And it just became more of a stuffy atmosphere kind of under him. But Doug was still there, but he was going to do the movie, right? And
Animal House.
Animal House. And and he was really excited about kind of starting, to go into that world, and it was something he basically thought he could do. But then he does make, after like test screenings, people were like standing on the seats and shit. Like people went fucking ape shit about this movie. And it was like, $2.5 million budget, like Orion Pictures, I think it was like not, or maybe Universal, I think.
Might have been Orion.
I think Orion did Caddyshack.
Oh, okay.
But Universal wasn't breathing down their neck. They were like, okay, funniest magazine in the country, small budget, fucking
go for it.
go for it. But then when they fucking saw like the rough cut, they were like, "What the fuck is going on?" And they had to do some editing and all that, and they did. And then the test screenings happened, and they were just kind of like, so again, first time at bat. Knocks it out of the fucking park. Biggest selling fucking comedy of all time. Creates a genre of film.
Right.
It's that like thinking about that.
Old school.
Like
30 years
American
later.
Pie.
Yeah.
An issue of National Lampoons, by the way, had a kid fucking an apple pie.
Really?
Yes, totally. Way before. Way before Animal House even had a kid fucking an apple pie. Straight up.
No way.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that shit's not coming out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like,
it's in the zeitgeist. Some people are born into it. Some people acquire it naturally.
Like
sometimes it's
warm
Maybelline.
apple pie.
Yeah. Butterscotch, yo.
I got news for you. You gay.
Gay. Is that fucked a pie? Newsflash.
Well, the pie was gay.
Hot shot.
Pie with the dude.
And that's cool.
That's cool, man.
But so yeah, the impact of Animal House is going to be it was his big fuck you to being like SNL.
Oh, you're gonna do TV?
And the magazine was waning, and a lot of hope was because Maddie's now involved with National Lampoon. It's a brand, right? And so the guy that can't be trusted to be the boss can still be trusted to deliver.
Yeah.
And it just kind of has to be on his own terms.
Yeah.
And so then the pressure now he's become a guy that's like flirting with acting, and out the gate he's a fucking successful producer. So now it's like even more of this thing of like, who am I? What am I doing?
Right.
And but he moves out to LA. He starts dating this woman that he has a pretty meaningful connection with. But he's always had this thing in his private life of anybody can stay at the house.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if I'm married. I'm not asking when you're gonna leave.
Yeah.
And he just never really grows up.
Yeah.
They said the same kind of thing about Peter Ivers. They were like, those guys in that crew at Harvard were struggling with becoming adults. And so that's like the thing where he pulls open a drawer and shows his friend, here, you want to see what $2,000 worth of cocaine looks like?
Yeah.
He's like, it wasn't even in plastic. He was like, it was just dumped in the drawer.
Oh God.
Well, I mean, maybe that's what he got the cabinet, the drawer for.
Yeah, my Coke drawer.
I'm blind
And there was
Oh no, this isn't the junk drawer.
and so yeah, that's around this time too.
the crank drawer. The junk drawer has the heroin. Like that.
I do. Where do you keep your K-hole?
Put on your mind lamp. Hold your breath. Here we go.
Spelunking the K-hole.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I love the spelunking.
Cave diving.
The French.
All right, we'll take a quick little break, and we'll be back, and we'll get more into
K-hole.
Doug in Hollywood. And we're back.
Yeah.
So there is there's a couple of things about this heyday of Lampoon. I really don't want to undervalue it. Like I'm saying, I was kind of
Value, baby.
I was like, I need to really have the boys I love, my boys,
Us?
you boys,
Matt and I?
get into the mental thing of just being like just imagine that time with, especially no filter, seeing Radner, Murray, doing that level of shit, because it's gonna go to SNL, but there's a lot you can't do on SNL, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, just Radner alone, we forget was a fucking monster.
She
dude.
was out of all of them.
Yeah.
she was the crown
Everybody
jewel.
everybody
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
fell in love
Everybody
with her.
loved her.
Yeah, and Ramus goes to SCTV after, and he's kind of running shit there. And he always has a thing too where he's kind of organizer, director, writer, performer. He can really kind of do it all, And they were just you know, they were getting to that level too where it brought all this new energy. And so like this cynical kind of like writing room and stuff like that. And National Lampoon had this famous thing where they always would lose advertisers. And get sued. And one of the big ones was showing the floating Volkswagen Beetle and saying if Ted Kennedy had driven a Volkswagen, he'd be president today. and like Matty Simmons, I think he was on like Tom Snyder or something.
Oh, that's
and they
good.
brought it up.
That's good.
Because they had to like retract it and like, and issue apology and all sorts of shit from the lawsuit from Volkswagen. But also Matty Simmons, when he was on Tom Snyder, was going like, well, he would be president.
Yeah.
If he drove a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Like if the car floated. And you go like, yeah.
If it was,
I mean,
if it was a hard top, yeah.
Yeah. And, so, and they have this thing too that, O'Donoghue especially was like very into being subversive. And he was kind of going like, the comedy is the frosting. You want them to eat the cake.
Right.
And the cake is kind of like where, the
substance.
The substance and the politics and the morals lie and stuff like that, And then they had a thing too where they were like, attacking somebody that was sort of progressive in a thing, and there was a big heated debate about like, well, should we do this? Because like he's an asshole, but he's kind of our asshole,
Yeah.
And they were just kind of like, it's fucking war on everybody if it's funny,
Yeah.
on everyone. If it's funny, it doesn't matter. And that was the thing, is that you could see, it just made you trust it all more because it was fair.
Yeah.
But when they do the Lemmings thing, it's great too because, John and Yoko, they posed for a Photo Funnies thing. The Photo Funnies thing was, like I said, Doug came up with, to do like sort of like still Polaroids of like, them with like some cute girls or something. But they were like, they need to know the writers. They need to put a face to what they're reading. It'll make them feel closer to us. Like, oh, look, they're just they're a jerk off like me. And Doug was also really into being a star, so he was happy to do those kind of like Henry would kind of do it grudgingly.
It makes sense for a magazine like that, because like for Mad Magazine as a kid, you'd be like,
but
these people are old.
But his intuition was right.
That's what I mean. It makes sense.
It was
for
a thing
like
where
that.
like it was like, and that's what I was saying about the thing of the guest host on the Daily Show. Terrible idea, because now it's a show with a writing staff
And not
that has no physical form to pin it on.
Right.
And it's just because of indecision and not
Cowardice?
wanting. Yeah, cowardice. Sheer coward. Pick somebody. And like,
Well, I mean, when Carson had guest hosts, it was
still a show.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
now,
And
the
it was-
Daily,
and it
now
was-
the Daily Show is indefinite guest host.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That is bad because you're like, who would watch it?
Terrible for morale.
Like if someone watches it this week, doesn't mean they'll watch it next week. It doesn't.
And
make
it's
sense.
not that. It's just not that kind of thing.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
They all have their own brand, and it goes like it was different when it was Kilborn. It was different when it was Jon Stewart. Like they all have like their own thing, but you got to have something you can pin it on. And Doug kind of knew that.
Yeah.
And so John and Yoko did a Photo Funnies. So people were in like the hipster like sort of cool things. They were going like James Taylor went to a Lemmings show where they parodied him, and he was kind of like just like hiding his face because he was embarrassed
and on heroin.
Yeah.
He was in the drunk.
But what I really liked is they did this thing where they took an interview from John Lennon where he's really they just use his own words against them, and they go like, if we rearrange these and we get them to rhyme, it can be song lyrics. So they make Magical Misery Tour, which is just taken from an interview with John Lennon where he just says terrible things about other Beatles and such. And I think we're gonna play it.
All right, well, let's play it.
I resent performing for your fuckers. Tell me, what do you know? A lot of faggot middle-class kids wearing long hair and trendy clothes. Look, I'm not your fucking parents, and I'm sick of uptight hippies coming knocking at me door with a fucking peace symbol. Get this fat. I don't owe you fuckers anything, and all I got to say is fuck you. And Mick Jagger, I think that makes a joke with all his stupid in his ass, you know, it's just a lot of bullshit. And where does he come up saying all those tossy things about the Beatles? When every fucking thing we ever did, we tried to copy, and you know we even wrote his second fucking record for him. No, the Stones aren't in the same fucking class as the Beatles, either music-wise or power-wise, they never ever were. Pardon me, sir. Paul said he hated Yoko. Tell me, why should Yoko have to take that kind of shit? Shit from those fucking sons of bitches. George said she gave off evil vibes. I should have beat the fucking shit right out of him. Him with his fucking Hare Krishna. Me auntie, she tore up me fucking poems. She just threw the bastards out. I can't forgive her cause she didn't treat me like a fucking genius. Look, you bastards, I'm a genius like Shakespeare and Beethoven and Van Gogh. Don't you dare criticize my work. Dogoric Yoko was one of the fucking best rock and roll records ever made. I'm a fucking artist. I'm sensitive as shit. I throw up before I go on stage. I can make a guitar speak. If I could be a fisherman, I would, but I can't because I'm a fucking genius. I was a walrus. Paul wasn't a walrus. I was just saying that to be nice, but I was actually the walrus. Even that rubbish he's been singing. Eastman was an animal. A fucking stupid middle-class pig. I won't let fucking animals like that near me. You're going to supreme intellectual. I'll tell you why nobody likes her music. Because she's a woman and she's oriental, that's why. Where are you, mother? We're trying to crucify me. Genius is pain. Genius is pain. Genius is pain.
Must have been loaded
Genius
What?
is pain.
when he said this shit.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Genius is
him and Yoko
pain.
did have a notorious drug problem.
Oh, genius is pain. Genius is pain. Ah! Ooh, ah! 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 Genius is pain. Ooh, ah! Ah! Pain. Genius. Ah! 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 Left in Iceland! Ah! Ah! Oh, fuck! 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 Ah! Ah!
So, you know. Him with his fucking Hare Krishna.
Fucking love it.
Is over.
I like the
George said he gave off evil vibes. I should have punched him in
the album cover for this. They put an NRA sticker on it.
Of course. So yeah, that was from the Lemmings, and the Lemmings was like a thing where like it's the animals that fucking commit suicide or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's why it was all suicide themed, and just they were like taking like aim at Woodstock because they were just going like it was a fucking lie. It was like giving people like sort of like underground credit, but they were just still, and so it was like yeah, that whole vibe of 60s to 80s, the revolution has been sold.
Mm-hmm.
It was a time where people really did look to comedy. And it being really dumb. Like, it's not a coincidence that, like, that happens, Steve Martin happens, like, all that shit, and it's cynical and all that, but it's also just real dumb to, like, get away from the heaviness of everything,
Yeah, what do you do when you realize everything around you is a corrupt lie?
Yeah, and so that's
dark, and like, all you just laugh.
like
the only sane thing to do is laugh.
Right.
Yeah, and really go up against it too with like being like Michael O'Donoghue's baby book for the Vietnamese kid. But it's got like the handprint with like 4 fingers because one's
Blown
gone.
off from the grenade.
Yeah, and it's like the mom, like notes from the mom. And it's like, her parents are dead, and it's like I had a friend, but he dead too now, like stuff like that, you know.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's really fucking rough. But it was that thing. Everybody was confronting all these lies about everything, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that cynicism, the strength, the force of that cynicism is inversely proportionate to like what they feel like the force of the bad shit going on around them. You know, the cynicism rises. You know, they're coming out of Vietnam and all of that, so their level of cynicism is so much higher than like even today. Like, you know, it's hard to. There's things to be cynical about, but they're not. I don't think they're as.
It's not being channeled through comedy.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
It's just cynicism.
Yeah.
And bitterness.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know, there was that thing too of you know, Doug would talk about like his mom, you know, drank too much. Like she would go into these crazy rages and like break shit and stuff, and like it terrified him. You know what I mean? And so he was also seeing that thing of like you know, the falseness of how the family presents
Right.
and how it really is, and you know, probably a bad place to be a sensitive genius.
Chagrin Falls.
Chagrin Falls, and in that family too, where like, you know, when he started making money from the fucking movies and all that shit, like he really fucking he bought his parents like a place in the Hamptons and stuff, and like somebody gave a toast there to him, being like, "Oh my God, all this success and under 30, like, you know, don't you, his parents, you know, have like, you know," and like his dad says something like joking, "It'd probably be the same if he wasn't born." Like, just you got a house in the Hamptons from your son.
Yeah.
And like Doug had this thing too with the money after the buyout, where he was going like, "I don't have change, so you're taking 100." Like that's
Right.
in no way like of knowing how to deal with money, and also felt like it was embarrassing. He had said when he was younger, he's like, if I was like a millionaire by the time I was 30, he's like, I'd probably just kill myself.
Right.
In the high school yearbook issue, the in memoriam is to a student that's him.
Oh God.
Yeah, and you know, so there's things like that kind of throughout, and you know, just a lot of people kind of saw like, you know, he was depressed. He didn't like the way that this whole Hollywood thing worked. Like he was really conflicted. Like he kind of wanted to be a private person, but he really wanted to be like extroverted and.
Yeah, he's letting people sleep on his couch without any questions asked. And, you know, it's like,
yeah,
you can't really square those two.
Yeah, being an introvert and wanting recognition are, you know.
Oh yeah, I know. He would
Yeah,
definitely not be
yeah.
an introvert, but it was like a thing where like he wanted to be quote unquote normal.
Right, but
Um,
you can inherently, you know, can't be normal.
Yeah.
If you want praise for your, you know, public works.
Yeah,
Yeah, being normal is like working a 9 to 5.
and he did hold.
Genius is pain, dude.
Yeah, and he did hold himself up against, you know, like real serious writers like Evelyn Waugh and stuff like I talked about in the first episode, and he was kind of like, you know, he took that shit very, very seriously. And so, you know, there was this thing then from Maddie about like, oh, it's sequel, right? Animal House sequel, and it was like, no, you know.
I mean,
like,
the movie ended with what they all did in the future. It'd have to be a completely different
I know,
movie.
yeah. And I think they did like a Delta TV show. And it lasted about a year.
Huh.
And they were just kind of going like, Maddie was interviewed about it, and he's like, this is like the first thing that's ever really failed. And it was really like, well, you can't do that shit on TV.
Yeah, you can't. There's
Right.
no tits. There's no swearing.
And it was
there's-
also
yeah.
like on like Saturdays or something, so everybody was out on the weekend anyway. Nobody's home.
Or
like,
watching SNL.
yeah, it was like more prime time too. It was like a fucking half-hour format, and like it had some people from the movie and stuff. By the way, at the premiere of Animal House, it was like a thing where like Kevin Bacon couldn't get off his like waiting job to go to the premiere, and then he ran up and he was hoping somebody on like in like the red carpet would like recognize him and be like, oh yeah, he should be. So he couldn't get into his own premiere of a movie he was in. Yeah, he was one of those guys that talked about, yeah, I grew up and you were hoping you got an issue with a pair of tits, you know.
Yeah.
And then he's in the movie and
Then he's in Wild Things, you know.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's got tits everywhere.
It's
Then he's
just
in
nonstop.
fucking Mystic River, you know.
Tits everywhere, man.
But yeah, so he, Doug kind of knocks it out of the park and really bails out National Lampoon as a company. But then he's over there and he's going like, well, no, I'm this trusted movie guy. And so he dials in on Caddyshack, and he's getting real into the coke too.
Yeah.
Real
Him and
into
Chevy.
the coke. Yeah, him and Chevy, and I think he kind of almost. They said like he maybe was trying to recreate older brother vibes with Chevy. But also like Chevy was the kind of guy where they said like he would do like a bunch of booze and blow and just like bounce back really fast, and like Doug started looking like haggard. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't kind of keep up, and that was the sort of energy that made Chevy leave Hawaii. Later on.
But also, you increases depression.
What's that?
Increases depression too. I mean, more likely to be depressed if you.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
the
but
come
you-
downs and
Yeah.
all that stuff. If he's doing coke, it's making the lows lower. Is what he's saying.
Yeah. He had some business meeting with some people one time, and he just did like a huge rail off his arm at like 9 a.m. And people were going like, "Fuck, dude! Like we all party, but like,
Yeah, don't
you're
use
doing this
your-
before a meeting at 9 a.m." Like they were kind of looking at him.
And not off your arm too. I mean, there's plenty of tables.
There was some
around.
like rumors too that he did stuff like he would like drive around like the Hollywood Hills at night with the lights off and shit.
No.
So it was like a thing where you go like, it sounds like
Death wish.
Yeah, death wish sort
courting
of.
death. Yeah, for sure.
But an accident always looks better.
And so, but the pressure was on with this thing, and he had, really, set out to be like, and like I said, like he was on set all day for Animal House on a ton of blow.
I mean, I heard that. I mean, the same thing with Caddyshack, but like
Oh yeah, it was even
tons of blow for
Even worse,
both
like-
of them.
even worse on Caddyshack.
Yeah.
They said they would get something stupid like 80 grams.
Like that's
on,
4 tennis balls,
they would get 80 grams on Sunday
There's no tennis in the movie.
on Sunday and be out by Wednesday.
Yeah.
80 grams.
Well, I mean, if it's just going around that easy, you can only imagine the guys.
And
doing
they were
that.
saying like at the time it's
Guys
80,
doing the
it's
equipment.
80, right? So it was like it was not like nobody famous had really died.
Right.
It was still considered this thing of like, fucking. It didn't have a bad rep really
yeah,
yet.
yeah. No, yeah. Everybody
It's
was
still
like,
getting
"This
good
is a fucking
shit."
miracle drug." Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the future of America?
Yeah.
Kind of, but not in the way that they thought.
Maddie Simmons' son was like a kind of a he had like the boss's son thing, but he was sent out on some of like the touring shows for the Lampoon, which had like Belushi in that, and like I think he had a birthday and Belushi just lined him up like 2 big rails and was like, "Nah, you're a man," like that kind of thing.
And then Belushi lined himself 2 rails and said,
Yeah, 2 for me, 1 for you.
Belushi,
I'm still a man.
Belushi in the stage show had stuff like where he was so fucking into Quaaludes that the rest of the cast was like, he's so fucked on Quaaludes he can't perform before the show. So they had to pool all of their cocaine to get him
Straight.
straight in acting order. And then like there was one girl that worked there, and she did like a badass Mick Jagger impression, but she was like always waiting for a script. But with the Lemmings thing, she had a thing where she was, expected to do all this improv, and she finally kind of got it, where she was like telling the musician, like, "Well, if you could just die, I could sell your record," And they were going like, "Oh, that's fucking genius." And she was like, but she still wanted, and she was talking to her shrink, and she was going like, "Dude, this fucking crew is like bad news. Like, I need to get out of this." And her psychiatrist was telling her like, "No, you're like running from success." And then the shrink came to a show, and she goes, "I get it." She's like, "Yeah, no, you need to get the fuck out of here. This is bad," And,
all right, guys. Everybody bring the Coke together. We got to wake up Belushi.
And they were real chopped up. Like Chevy, and Belushi's like rivalry starts here too. Chevy would he wanted to be the good improv performer, and Belushi kind of wanted to be like naturally charming and likable,
Right.
and so they both resented what they had about each other,
Right.
And Chevy tells a great story in that doc. I'm sure you remember where it's two
That's
guys talking at the urinal, and he's going like, and they're talking about like whatever, and he's like over like the course of like a week, he's like he's getting, it's clear they're getting like, he's getting more laughs than me. And he goes, and we're sitting at the urinal, and he goes, and I'm doing the 2-finger thing around holding my dick, and he goes, and I look down and I see John is like holding like a fire hose, like open palm, like the way like
you hold a boa constrictor.
Yeah, the way you would hold a boa constrictor, and he's like, that
Like a
little
Subway
fucker,
sandwich.
man, you fucking got me, dude. He's like, you've been doing this for like a week, and it was just one subtle little thing where he fucking just totally fucked me over, and you know, so and he would show up, and this is a great part of the book. I love when people do this. He would
He got me with his big dick.
yeah.
Good move. Good move.
Just a gesture.
Yeah.
Just a gesture, like you see him doing this, and you're like, I'm gonna do this, but still have the conversation the same way.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's on the pile of coke and Quaaludes too. So,
Yeah.
you know, he must have been a shower.
But he would show up and he would say like, and so this is so funny too because you know Belushi really starts the backstage fight with Murray and Chase. When
Sure.
Chase comes back to visit SNL and he does the news instead of Bill Murray.
But that would have been like 77 or 76.
It was the second season.
Yeah, it was the
Okay.
second season.
Yeah.
But it was a thing where Belushi got him all torqued up, and you see the beginnings of this here where Chevy would go up to Belushi and say like, "Hey, did you shave your back this morning?" And they'd be like, Belushi, who was Albanian, they just dropped the raisin to be like justifiably
Yeah, he has
hairy
a lot of hair.
or something. You know what I mean?
Still not a great insult.
No, but it was like,
Especially with like.
but it was a thing where it was like, you know, they said Chevy Chase he wanted to be liked, and he had the most peculiar way of going about it.
yeah, by being a dick.
But it was weird because he felt like he wasn't an actor. He was like thought himself more of as a musician.
Yeah. Oh, really?
But he
Play.
could just improvise this great stuff. And one time they were short for a radio show, and they were like, we just need you to do something on the mic, like to fill like the 5 minutes. And he goes, yeah, here at the Lampoon radio show, sometimes we get some of the mail that you know it's critical of the show, and it really hurts. It really hurts my feelings, and it really hurts Christopher Guest's feelings. And Belushi, he gets so upset. Gilda, she gets very upset about it. Bill Murray, it just keeps going for like 5, just saying everybody in this that does the show and how they get upset about hate mail, and like that just completed a show. So he had this thing like he could just summon it. You know what I mean?
He's a funny man.
And then he was in proximity to Doug, and Doug is saying like, "Oh, you're kind of what I want to be."
Tall, handsome.
Yeah, but also like, you know, Chevy did have, you know, they all had a huge inferiority complex around Doug, and they would
that's
they
why
would
it works so well. Everybody thinks they're nothing, and so
Yeah.
they try extra hard.
That's
yeah.
right, yeah. Until it's annoying.
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing where they're going like, oh yeah, well, you know, there's nobody as smart as Doug, like,
Right.
and like I said, you know, just the good intuition. He was doing constant rewrites with Brian Zola Murray and Bill Murray, all like, because like you're kind of figuring it out as you film,
Right.
And he's getting the rhythms down, and he's going like, okay, well, I want to, kind of build out Bill Murray's character more, and they left a lot of stuff, you know, up to improv, and then they were just kind of like, this Chevy character has to meet this Bill Murray character, and that's when they get to really fuck around in improv, and that's when it's well, cooler pawn good for you. And he was saying, Chevy was like, it was very hard to keep a straight face with the stuff Bill was improvising in that scene. And
over there on Briar.
and keep up, yeah, and they said, you know, Murray was kind of weird because he was like a little bit resentful of being like the buffoon,
Yeah.
so he would kind of flex sometimes, and sometimes he would come in and be the amazingly charming Bill Murray.
Right.
Well,
But
he-
his character steals the movie.
well, I mean, especially that the scene with the Dalai. He's talking about the Dalai
Yeah.
Lama, the Lama,
Tells me
Lama, big hater of the Lama.
Yeah, they great little fucking clips, and he's like, when Chevy's talking to Caddy and to Danny or something.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Danny, do you do drugs every day? Good.
Oh god.
Good. Like it's so fucking
Well,
natural.
world needs stitch stickers.
It's so natural. It's so
Yes,
fucking
yes.
good. And you know, and then it got this thing where I think it was a 4-hour cut and they were going like, dude, what the fuck is this?
Right.
And then Maddie was bringing in people to kind of chop it up, and
Which they were very good at.
yeah.
They're total pros.
And then they were like, okay, there's something resembling a movie now, and then they had the whole thing about introducing the beaver as this foil to Bill Murray.
Oh, okay.
And Doug was just aghast at that. Like,
It seems a very non-Doug Kenney thing.
yeah, O'Donoghue would give a shit to a writer on the Lampoon who was doing Sesame Street stuff, and then when he got to SNL, he was expected to do something for the puppets, and he goes, "I don't write for felt." And he was really like hated that shit. And so Doug had this thing in his head with battling cocaine and having fights with his girlfriend. And just being like, oh yeah, fucking Caddyshack is a pile of shit, and he just kind of like said it to people that were
Jesus Christ,
close to him. Yeah. Well, and then
You got Dangerfield and Kenny Loggins. Like,
and you got Dangerfield.
it's not going to be a total piece.
Dangerfield
of shit.
doing Dangerfield jokes.
yeah,
I mean, just like
This is the worst hat I've ever seen. Oh, looks good on you though.
yeah,
buy a head like this, you get a free bowl of soup.
yeah. They had
She must have been something before electricity.
Oof, boy, I know. Now I know when tigers eat their young.
yeah, and Dangerfield was partying it up with Doug and them.
I bet.
yes.
Yeah.
God, dude, I would become a coke addict to do it with Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I know.
I would leave you all
Calling up
dust.
fucking Ron Jeremy and shit.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy can suck his own dick. The guy's really blowing his own horn.
I don't need you here anymore. This guy can suck his own dick.
Ron Jeremy declared unfit for trial.
Really?
Yeah, as recently as yesterday.
He did look like shit.
Oh God, he looks like the Crypt Keeper, dude.
Yeah.
Why is he unfit for trial?
Because he's fucking senile.
Is he?
Well, that's their case.
That's their
yeah.
case.
They always get fucking dumb when they
But he's
get,
like,
everybody gets accused of rape. They always come in on a
I
walker.
can't
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
How could I rape?
I'm just
Why would I rape? I can suck my own dick.
I'm a simple porn man.
Why would I do that?
Why?
But so Doug is kind of freaking out about Caddyshack, and he really needed it to be something. And it was playing in that wheelhouse of stuff he knows, and then he gets really carried away with it, and he's putting all these personal touches on it and stuff, and he's feeling like a Hollywood outcast, and just like on the outside of everything, kind of. But in his own circle that he kind of created the whole brand of all of this cultural shit going on in humor. Obviously, everybody's going like, what do you have to worry about? Like, you're Doug Kenney.
Yeah.
You are the fucking guy. Like, even Lorne Michaels is like, yeah, man, do you want to come write? And like, he's like, kind of, no, man, fuck you. Like, you kind of stole my shit,
yeah.
And also, they were so mad, too, because they felt like Lorne Michaels was inferior. They were like, the guy from Laugh-In, where it makes, like, the Midwest feel comfortable with counterculture shit,
Right.
because you say, you bet your sweet Bippy, which means nothing.
Right.
And they were just kind of like, oh, yeah, this is the guy that's ripping off, Henry Beard and Doug Kenney. Like, But he also fucking...
Try saying, you bet your sweet Pippi. Right, like,
Yeah.
what about if I was like Pippi?
I mean, Lauren wasn't writing. He was just,
Well, no, he was always writing. He's always credited as a writer still to this day.
Yeah, but I think that's more of just like editing or listening to the writers and saying, "Oh,
I think he still throws in stuff for sure,
but not in the way that like Kenny and these guys are doing it. Like this, like their
Man,
contributions.
he
to
wrote
National
Three
Lampoon.
Amigos with Paul Newman.
Oh, is that true?
Not Paul Newman, Randy Newman.
Oh,
He wrote Three Amigos with Randy Newman
Yeah, Randy Newman is a credited writer on Three Amigos.
interesting.
and Lorne Michaels.
And Lorne Michaels.
Weird.
Wow,
And Randy Newman plays the singing bush.
nice.
Well, that's the Bible for you.
Yeah,
Well, okay. Well, I guess I take it back.
but so so there's a thing where O'Donoghue, like it was also great too because like people felt betrayed by his exit, and Maddie felt betrayed by the buyout. It was like this thing of like he thought they were all a family, and then like they kind of like bullied into making him pay him out, and
Oh, that's weird. Such a fucking business owner thing. Like, oh, we're all family here, right? Like, you guys wouldn't fuck me over.
well,
I'm fucking you over.
Yeah, that's what family is.
yeah, well, that was the thing where Doug did say to him, "Hey, we're partners, and nobody's gonna try to fuck you over." And then in the meeting, it was like, I want my money. So
Yeah, but that's not fucking. That's the deal they made. Like that's
I get it. I get it. But he was like, also I was very hands off. I let you do whatever you want, and I kind of went to bat for you guys.
Yeah, and it was a total success.
And it was a total success. Yeah. So, and Maddie along the way did have ideas. You know that really famous one of the cheerleaders, and the one doesn't have panties on. And everybody in the rafters is like, oh my god. He was like that.
Wait, can you explain? I don't know the one.
There's like just, cheerleaders doing a cheer and they're like twirling, and like 2 out of the 3 you see like big red panties on them, and the other one you see bare-assed, and they're in the foreground, but the kids on the bleachers watching them are all like mouth agape, eyes wide, and that was from Maddie. Maddie was like, the image just came to me late at night one night, and I was like, that's funny. So he contributed some stuff, and he backed up. They did have. They lost advertisers all the time over the dumbest shit.
Sure, but with the sales they had, they could always bring in new ones.
Yeah, man, it was so funny though because it would be over stuff so dumb. They were like being racist towards the Dutch, so Heineken leaves, and they're just going like, it was like in a race issue where they just like conflated stereotypes. So like the Swedes, when they're not trimming their mustaches and drinking wine and wringing their hair out with grease, participate in the national sport of suicide. Like shit like that, like just totally fucking insane. When they're trimming their mustaches and wringing their hair out with grease.
Oh god, it's so stupid.
So dumb, but like people would leave over shit like that, and he stuck by them obviously, but it was like it got to the point where they were like considering. Maddie was considering changing 21st Century Media to just NL Media because it was such a fucking heavy brand. The Caddyshack is not going to be under the National Lampoon banner. It's just going to be kind of like
it was National Lampoon's Animal House, but it wasn't National Lampoon's.
Right.
But they did, they did Christmas Vacation and all that.
Right. Yes, Vacation was a thing that it was still something to be reckoned with for sure. Beverly D'Angelo, by the way, your old friend.
Oh man, she's fantastic.
Oh.
Yeah, she was talking about like when you went to like LA and you stopped by their house, they were like best parties, interesting thinkers, best drugs. It was the spot to be,
Belushi's.
It's fire hose.
Belushi's fire hydrant.
God damn.
So funny, dude. Doug was into being a star, right? In one interview one time he said, you have to introduce me as the handsomest man in comedy. And you look at Doug Kenney, he's a very attractive guy, very good looking fellow. And, he kind of wanted to be like free to be more of this, an actor would have really been perfect for him. He was already used to assuming these many different roles.
Right, yeah.
And needing the attention. He didn't like being alone. That was a big part of, you can stay over. I'm not asking when you leave. You just,
right.
Like, I don't know if you've ever had a friend like that.
Please don't leave.
But yeah, I've had friends who like, they always want to hang out. And I'm like, you just want company like all the time, huh? And they're like, yeah, dude, you know what I do if I can't get it? I'm like, what? He goes, I call people. And I'm like, fuck, really? And like, so I have like a close friend that's like that, which I can't understand to a certain point. I kind of get it. Like, I'm like itching when I'm going like, who can I get to go out with dinner so I can just talk about shit? But then like one night a week, I'm like, dude, I don't want to fucking see anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was kind of in that, I always need stimulus. Getting worse with coke, hanging out with Chevy a lot. Chevy would, when they, I think it was like when they went out to Hawaii. He was going, Doug would be saying, I'm the handsomest man in comedy in the mirror. And he goes, and then I would creep in. I would creep in, and he goes, the second handsomest man. And, Chevy was like, he was my best friend. We were really, really close, but also like fucking people were also like, man, fuck Chevy. And Chevy was the one that, after he freaked out, like I said, at the Caddyshack thing, which was held at Dangerfield's Comedy Club, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were all on the dais, and he kind of jumped the gun, being like, "Yeah, it sucks, right? Sucks." And
Doug did that in public at some
kind of like thing about it, and like people made some jokes and stuff. His mom and dad let him out of the room.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah,
like Bill Murray.
Yeah, and
all right, hey, there's a spot over here for you.
And so he then it was like, he just told his girlfriend at the time, her last name's Walker. He's like, I gotta fucking go, and we're gonna go somewhere like Chevy. We need to go in California first. Then we're probably gonna go to Hawaii.
Yeah, Chevy needs to go to California.
Give
this guy. Yeah, he's got to drop off a metric ton of tennis balls.
Well, and kicking cocaine was supposed to be the thing, but then after a while it was like he kind of really got down with tennis with Chevy, and he was just kind of going over this part of his life, being like talking about here's my whole tennis thing with my dad and Faze and stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
And then it was Hawaii, and Chevy bounced after they started getting back into coke again, in the tennis balls coming in, and then his girlfriend came in, and then they were like making plans for the house in LA. And they were snorkeling and just like doing like all this fun shit. And then she left. He said he wanted to location scout, of course. And then we found his shoes and his glasses.
Oh, my glasses.
My glasses and my shoes.
Probably Googled like, how do I slip?
Past
how to commit suicide when you really need to.
The book really kind of goes into like how you could be forgiven for like actually slipping. They're like, the terrain kind of looks like there's something to stand on, but there isn't. But also, taking off your glasses. What? He had like written on the mirror in his hotel room, like, I love you in shaving cream. Oh, God. And it was supposed to be a thing where like maybe it was like, once like somebody was going to come back and stuff like that. Cause he had told his girlfriend he was going to be back in time for this party. And then he talked to Chevy and he sounded really depressed, Chevy said. So it was kind of like, just like still trading characters like on the phone. But yeah, leaving your glasses when you're kind of blind as a bat, a choice, a weird choice to go investigating cliffs.
Well, it's kind of like driving without your headlights on.
Yeah, and a thing where you go like, and then you're gonna go investigate cliffs, and like he didn't fall that far, and his body was kind of caught between rocks and stuff. But yeah, it was his girlfriend and Chevy came out to collect the body, and they said they got some lays and like threw them in the water, and like a fucking rainbow appeared and stuff like that.
Potato chips?
Yeah,
they got some lays.
Yeah,
they threw it in the water.
You gotta eat just one.
But in the run-up to that, like, but people like in his fucking team were going like hitting him with like box office numbers, being like, "Hey, dude, it's performing well."
Yeah.
Like Caddyshack is like, I think we all agree, the one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fucking one.
Yeah.
Like, he just kind of couldn't take, I think, drug addiction mixed with but also you'd seen him fail before. Like Teenage Comedies from Outer Space did not work.
Right.
And then he reinvented and did more stuff. And, but I think at the kind of end of it all, it was just a thing where it was like, he just never felt like he belonged in his own family, in any class structure. I just don't think he didn't want to grow up. Right. And, that was, the thing with him and Peter Ivers, and they both died young, like in totally different ways. But they were really resisting, I think, what they considered selling out.
Well, at least they didn't
adulthood.
Yeah.
At least they didn't find a clown hammer next to his shoes.
Yeah, there was a thing where,
circus hammer.
There was a thing too where like, the stuff about rebellion, like this guy Peters, who is the, like, I think it was Streisand's fucking hairdresser. Then they had a fucking affair.
Wow, must have been a hell of a hairdresser.
And then it's like he's the producer on A Star Is Born, and then he's the producer of Caddyshack.
Jesus Christ, good hairdresser.
And he shows up, and then they were seriously considering having him be the opposite of A Star Is Born instead of Chris Christopherson. This fucking guy. Serious discussion. He's doing hair a couple weeks ago.
No, you're doing it well. Most hairdressers don't get that
he
chance.
showed up at the set, and he was kind of going like, yeah, we're doing this, and this, and I think we can, do it all cheaper and blah, blah, blah. And what do you think? And Doug just goes, I think if you come here again, you better come with a different attitude or don't come at all. I mean, it's just like, shut the fuck up. And that was kind of like his thing with like Maddie, too, where he's going like, bullshit, it's our magazine. If Maddie was trying to wade in with anything, he would just be like, dude, fucking suck my dick. You know? And so that was the thing. It was like, they talked about how the magazine changed. And they were going like, and when it became like Reagan time, it was like, P.J. O'Rourke started becoming more of right-wing P.J. O'Rourke. And he was kind of going like, yeah, I used to be like the fucking Marxist kid in the 60s, and now I'm feeling like, again, the revolution got sold. And I'm angry at the liberals as much as, conservatives. And they were saying like the attitude was like, we used to be the ones with our face on the glass for the people inside eating the dinner table, and now we're at the dinner table.
Right.
And they were just going like, we're getting older, it's changing, and the readership was changing too. So it was kind of adapting with that, But so, yeah, when Doug, I believe, fell, possibly jumped, people were even throwing around stuff that like he might have been stage killed by people that preyed on wealthy people like that were also into drugs.
Yeah, no, classic case.
But like nobody was really fucking like looking for whatever. Did
they check his pockets when they found him?
Yeah, and and they looked at his room, and he had some. Some obvious plans like written down and stuff like that. And then he also had the note, these days are among the happiest I've ever ignored. And that kind of seems like...
It's funny, but it's also very depressing.
Him going through the motions, maybe with his girlfriend, especially like when maybe he is already kind of committed. Yeah, and he's talked about suicide so much over the years. And yeah, so they bring him home. They have this funeral. All the feuding members of National Lampoon get together in the same place for the first time. Maddie Simmons' kid, that was the tour manager. He's like, it was the first time I saw my dad cry since his brother died. Was when Doug Kenney died, and Peter Ivers did the harmonica song and then screamed at the end of it. Chevy did a eulogy. He was trying to be funny, but he was just crying through tears, or speaking through tears. And, it was fucking crazy. Doug's parents were like kind of shocked. There was this thing too, where they were like the Lampoon or college people might've been looking at the Hollywood people there being like, we blame you. That was going on. And, it made P.J. O'Rourke quit the Lampoon. He was going like, he's like, I don't want to get too fucking like, fucking embarrassing about it basically. But he was like, it was like a force of nature had died and I needed to get out of the way and just handed off the reins to somebody else. Cause he was going like, it was like being told spring wouldn't come, which is just fucking insane. And the book ends with this amazing fucking anecdote from Chevy where he's like, this friend of mine was going out to this psychic in Long Island. And he goes,
he means his friend or Beverly?
D'Angelo?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. He didn't say.
BVD?
But he goes, she was trying to contact some dead family member and it wasn't working. And he reluctantly agreed he wasn't into that shit. And the psychic says, is there anybody you want to talk to? And he goes, I have a friend I think about all the time. And she goes, he's here. She goes, he said he left his glasses on the cliff and his death was stupid and embarrassing.
What?
And then she goes, he's funny, isn't he? And he's like, Jeffy was like, I hadn't told her a fucking thing.
Beverly did.
But yeah, that's the Doug Kenney story. I think, it's a thing where it's mostly my assessment was bad place to be born, a sensitive genius.
Right.
Maybe the wrong
Genius
family.
is pain, dude.
Yeah, but at the same time, does he go and do what he did if he's not born there? I mean, for him, in some ways, bad for his long-term life, but for his comedy aspirations,
he left his entire estate to his family, millions and millions of dollars. And I think it was this thing where he could never measure up, even after he
definitely
before 30, buying them like vacation homes in the Hamptons and just his buyout money, he didn't know what to do with it. Like he said,
Right.
He was like a mattress on the floor guy, and he just spent money on his parents, just generously around. They were saying like it was like ridiculous, like he thought it was absurd. What he said about the buyout too, he's like I don't need contracts, nobody does. He's like whatever happened with that buyout, he's like I still don't understand. He definitely had like this childlike approach to finances. And I think it's also bolstered by knowing you're going to succeed too. Like being like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is a little bit of privilege in that, going from Harvard and.
No, but he wasn't a rich kid though. Don't forget. He still valued
right,
money,
but he wasn't a poor kid.
No, but he was not.
The freedom to not care about finances.
But the guy from Sugar Falls is not going to be like an easy. He's got to work his way into Harvard. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and he did. But to not care about the buyout in that much of a way, I don't know. It kind of feels like you're putting on a little bit of a brave face on that. Not you, I mean him.
Well, it's a lot different too than Henry Beard being like, "Fuck you, I'm taking my money and leaving."
Yeah, the guy with the pipe. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was kind of going like he would just pay things out of his pocket that he thought would be good for Lampoon. Right. He'd be like, "This guy can do an amazing cover. Let's get him to do it." Just for the sake of it. Funding a lot of people's, just giving loans and stuff to the Belushis and shit, and being like, "Oh fuck,
where'd it go?"
They said,
"Whoa, it's a tennis ball."
No, they said Judith said when we paid him back, he goes, "Oh, you're the first person to pay me back," which means he had given out a lot of money.
Giving money to comic people, comedians is.
But that was his style too, though. You know what I mean? It was like he was always like in a fucking apartment, like he
he lived in New York.
Yeah, but like. The house was for the parents.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
He wasn't going to buy himself a house. But yeah, fascinating guy. I don't think he fit in everywhere, and yet I think he felt like he fit in nowhere. And then I think the pressure that he put on himself, and just really carrying. A lot of the family stuff that would come up a lot with his last girlfriend. He would talk about the childhood stuff and his family, and he had already gotten successful by the time he could pay for like his little sister's higher education,
right,
like good private schools and stuff like that. He did all that shit, and it seemed like it was just kind of like, well, you're still not doing anything serious, so you're kind of a jerk off was like the attitude, like
from his dad.
From his dad especially.
Yeah, was it kind of like it's like, well, you should be paying for it considering that you make joke money.
I don't know.
Your brother.
There was more stuff with like he knew like his dad worked for like some company that was kind of like a military contractor, a big polluter, stuff like that. So they had some.
Well, you have an honest
real
job.
Problems like that. He was a very sweet and very serious, like kind of peaceful guy. Like Brian Dolan Murray was like rude to a waitress one time, and he's like, "Dude, Doug gave me like a 30-minute dressing down about like," and we were talking about customer service people being shitty to us, and he's like. But then when Doug got bad with coke and stuff like that, like he like laid into like a maitre d' one time, and somebody was going like, "Oh yeah, he's fucking."
Yeah, well, I mean, you can imagine, like, he's going through all these worlds, and with the drugs too, he stops becoming whatever he knows about himself, you know? So he goes through these different worlds, and he goes to Harvard after not wanting to, like, after hating working for those rich people, and he becomes one of these rich people. And then he's doing coke, and he's berating a maitre d' after getting on Brian Doyle Murray for berating, like, being rude to a waitress. Yeah. And you can see how, like, all of a sudden he's like, who am I? Right. I'm not even a guy I respect.
Yeah, and he had the thing too where, like, like smart guys, when they're in these foul moods, like my dad, they can, like, say, like, the most cutting
They can really hurt people.
Really reduce you and, like, hit you on places that you didn't even know you were sensitive about.
It's something that they didn't probably, like, they thought about it. It's something that occurred to them in a thought, right? Like,
and
days, hours, weeks before, and then it just comes out because they're drunk or high.
But it's also something they really mean about themselves. Right. 9 times out of 10.
But it only comes out because they're drunk or high.
Yes, yeah. So he was getting, kind of crazy that way, and he had felt like this. I think imposter. I think a Hollywood imposter. Yeah. I think a publishing imposter.
Well, it sounds like he felt like an imposter about most things in his life, other than
sitting
in an office writing.
They said
jokes.
Like just being at Harvard, that, like, he was, like, bemused that, like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, this is all ridiculous.
Yeah.
But also, he knew what was good. And he did yearn for attention and accolades. You know what I mean? Like, and he did soak it up. Like, when it was like a big hit, like Animal House or something, like, he would be, like, beaming.
Right.
But he
didn't think that about Caddyshack.
No. And I think, like, the early reviews were, like, kind of soft. But yeah, and he just was very impatient. I think he just had these crazy standards, but, like, dude, like, they can't all be the highest selling comedy of all time. You've only done 2,
right?
Did Caddyshack not do that well financially at the box office?
I just think, like, it
found legs later.
Yeah, it definitely found legs later.
Which is also how the magazine went.
Yeah.
The magazine was word of mouth.
Yeah.
And like, fuck, that's okay, but it's still the superior movie by far.
Oh yeah. And maybe that's because there was less, maybe more people got involved in the writing, and, like, compromises were made, and it wasn't just a Doug Kenney vision.
No, he was very much behind it. It was just that go for shit at the end.
Oh, okay.
And it feeling like maybe final edit had been taken away. And he was just going like, oh, yeah, it's fucking dumb. But, like, yeah, those are the only things that really stand out as bad now. Is like the dumb gopher shit. So, but it's still not, like, enough to destroy the movie by any means.
No. It makes it its own thing. It's not quite National Lampoon.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that ate at him too. I don't know.
I mean, Caddyshack made at least 10 times the return of its budget.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty good.
Yeah,
dude, like, fucking insane. Like, I mean, the guy wasn't. The thing is, like, after you make the highest selling comedy of all time, like, bro, they'll give you a couple tries in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, a couple.
Yeah.
You make an okay selling movie, like, if you make a movie at all in Hollywood, like, chances are they'll give you a second shot. They're just like, oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a joke.
Yeah.
That's really true.
100%.
They're like, oh, you've
done this before.
Yeah, full length
Great.
feature. Oh, okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Here's a little more money even,
Yeah.
And so I think that was the thing, like, too, like Caddyshack came up to, like, 6 to 8 million, which is still low stakes, but for the original Animal House being 2.5.
Oh, you mean the budget?
Yeah, because they had, like, by then Bill Murray.
The budget was, I think it said 4 to 6 million.
Chevy Chase, like, they had more high, like, fucking star, like, caliber people, and
also, I mean, bigger locations too.
Yeah, they were down in Florida, I think. And
no. I believe it was. I think I think most of the filming. Oh no, maybe that's Animal House.
Yeah,
it's done in Oregon. Okay,
yeah. No, they specifically went to one that had no palm trees, so it could be passed off as.
Oh, okay.
Like the Midwest.
Yeah.
But they found some cheaper location in Fort Lauderdale area. And, you know, it fucking, dude, it works, man. It's a fucking incredible movie. The first time I saw it, I died laughing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like 30.
Really?
Yeah.
The first time you saw it?
First time I saw it. We were at my friend Chris's house, my buddy Joe's mom's house. And Chris was like, yo, let's do Caddyshack. And I was like, I've never done Caddyshack. And he's like, for real? And I was like, yeah, bro. And then, I mean, I was just fucking losing it. Like, I mean, the priest saying God is dead, like, or there is no God, or whatever. Like, it was just laugh after laugh. I couldn't believe how fucking well it held up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Doug Kenney, basically, you know, there is those seismic things in comedy, and the main actors behind them, and he's, you know, we think about our generation as like, 90s SNL, Conan, Dana Carvey show, like that crew, you know, with Dino and fucking Louis and like Smigel, all those guys, and you're like, and it's just a tone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, Living Color, like that kind of.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey. Yeah.
And Doug Kenney was definitely, you know, the architect of that tone.
Yeah, for that generation.
For that generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like,
And for us, it's Keenan Ivory Wayans.
That's it.
As it's always been.
I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Hey, everyone. We're all gonna get laid. That's exactly how it's said in the movie. Hey, everyone. We're all gonna get sex.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. We're all gonna get laid.
Do it like Michael Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
Not like Mike Tyson, like Michael Jackson.
Hey, all you kids. I'm gonna get laid. Hey, everybody. Sense and ignorance. Hey, Macaulay, we're all gonna get laid. Hey, Corey, Macaulay, Kieran, Corey. You're all gonna get laid. Bubbles. Hey, Bubbles. Let's do some damage tonight. Let's really tear the roof off. Let's really lay some pipe. Talking about really getting after it. Let's skip bad. Let's beat it. Let's tee off. Let's thrill him. Let's really get off the wall.
Let's thrill him.
I want to be bad. You know, your butt is mine. I'm not like the other boys.
Yeah, Doug Kenney. It was a beautiful story. I kind of like along the way, I was going like, oh man, fucking O'Donohue is probably fucking like right for a profile.
Yeah.
Oh,
Got a
maniac.
There's a book about him called Mr. Mike, and I'm fucking interested because he was, I think he died of like a crazy brain hemorrhage. Like,
Probably.
yeah, he was fucking.
It wouldn't be a normal brain hemorrhage for that guy.
Yeah, they're like.
Not your run to the mill.
It's not, that's a
super sudden,
mainstream
and but he's just such a fucking lunatic. I mean, it really was like Travis Bickle as a comedy writer.
Yeah.
Like it was just like you're going like.
So Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker?
Yeah, kind of.
Joaquin.
You get what you fucking deserve. Fellas, I hope you enjoyed that.
Well, thank you, John. Yeah, that was great.
And the fact that we're all
no
going to
idea.
get laid is great.
Yeah.
The fact that we're,
Once again. Hey, we're all going to get laid. I mean, just if you have a movie where you can do Dangerfield can do Dangerfield stuff.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so good, man. They also said like, you know, with Animal House, they're going like, you got to be like the most raunchiest motherfucker, but like you have to play it in a way where we have to like Bluto.
Yeah.
Like it has to, you have to make it endearing. Like we have to be like, there's some kind of soft kindness under this.
I mean,
otherwise it'll be too far. And they were like, Belushi just got that. Like,
when he says it's a zit, get it, and he has this like this impish grin, and you're like, I get it. That's really.
They were
funny.
like on the page. You'd be like, this is fucking too crass.
Yeah.
And they were like, but he got like the thing of like, you got to be some kind of grounding force in this fucking anarchy.
Yeah.
And
is it over when the Germans bought Pearl Harbor?
That's the
chaotic
thing.
neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like that's the thing. Like, you know, again about seeing like all those early stage shows and the radio stuff. Like that crew coming in was like, man, they were fucking firing on all cylinders. Like they were fucking incredible, dude.
Yeah,
and they were hungry.
It was
You
real
know?
next generation
Which is
stuff.
crazy because they're on so much coke. Like, you can't eat.
Yeah, no, they were
Ken
hungry.
shit.
They were hungry for talking. That's
And tacos, which are
Tacos.
teenagers,
Teenage communists.
from outer space.
Not a great acronym.
Horny.
Horny.
So fucking horny. All right, fellas, let's get out of here. I'm going to say goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
I'm Aaron Peter.
Sniper Soap.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night.
Scarpins Avenue.